Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Guegolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. Bout get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix, so get ready, cause we bout to get it poppin', and we ain't stopping.
Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again. Yeah, we at it again. Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again.
Hello and welcome to the Mangina Dialogues. I am your host, Nick Scopes.
And I'm the Guegolicious.
And today, our guest is Dani from the Dani's Dugout podcast. How are you, Dani?
I'm still I honestly put this on mute for like a couple of seconds because I was laughing so hard at the intro.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that. I always turn the guest's mic down because we anticipate laughter, horror, or surprise.
I was like, wait a second, what's happening? And I just hit mute because I knew I was going to start bursting out laughing.
You should have seen your dad's face when he heard that song for the first time when he was on the podcast.
I can already picture it.
I was so embarrassed. I'm like, great, just met this guy, and this is what's happening.
We brought them into a vacant apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan that was walled in mirrors to do the podcast episode live.
It was weird. It was like an abandoned. It's Greg's apartment in Manhattan that's like abandoned. And I was like, this is so strange.
Anyway.
And that is why my dad probably was making all the strange faces on top of it.
He was great. So, Dani, what are you up to? I know you're stuck in Florida, correct?
I am, but there's a light at the end of this tunnel. Though New York kind of still looks a little scary in a general sense, it also seems like things are starting to like hit its like, you know, plateau peak situation. So I might be coming home on Tuesday. So I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, that's
very
good.
Cool.
Yeah, they say that it's plateaued. So hopefully by next week they say it should be on the significant side down.
Well, New York City, but I think Long Island is like going up right now. But I'm gonna go to Long Island because New York City feels scary to me right now because like bail reform or all of this stuff happening with crime and situations like that. I'm like, I live in Harlem. No, I'm gonna go to Long Island and stay with like all my friends from high school or something. Not doing that. But yeah, so I'm gonna be I heard someone say drive. So yes, I'm gonna be driving the 18 hours. It's supposed to be 22, but like if I go through a different way, it's going to be only 18 hours. So yeah, 18 hours on the road. Very excited for that.
Are you going to stop it south of the border in South Carolina?
I don't plan on stopping unless I have to pee and get gas.
Well,
if you're just going 18 hours straight through?
Yeah. I'm an insomniac. I also like driving. I'm weird. People are just like, that's really tough. And I was like, I've done it before. It's really not that difficult. I got this. Like there's a thing called coffee. There's a thing called harassing all of my friends and family, which I totally will do. It's a pleasure of mine to do. To be quite honest, my family is actually probably hating this quarantine because I'll just bombard them with TikToks or I'll call them and I'll harass them. Or me and my friends decided before like we really got hunkered down and I went to my aunt's house to make our own gifts. So anytime my family sends me something, I just send them a really sarcastic gif of myself that we made. So it's been a lot of fun trolling everyone.
They're like, honey, just stay down there. You're driving us nuts.
Pretty much. Or they're probably like, just come back up here and drink with us. So that way we can just see this in person as a, one woman show and we'll just drink and watch.
You should live stream the drive back in real time. Just 18 straight hours on YouTube live.
Oh my God. I hope that there's a plug in the car. That would be interesting. Be like, hey, everybody want to watch my drive where I go insane?
So where are you in? You're in Tampa, I would assume. Tampa area, right?
I was in Tampa area. I'm in Naples now because my aunt has a house in Naples. So I kind of like called her and I was like, hey, I'm not going home because I was in Tampa for baseball, of course. And then all of that got canceled. And I was staying with a friend of mine and my other cousin that lives in that area. But my mother's sister, Jesus. My mother's sister lives here. So I was just like, I'm going to go stay with her. Like, I know her better. And I know that she can deal with my bullshit.
Yeah.
So I've been here for 3 weeks now.
Wow. How's it been?
Doesn't suck. It's nice. It's warm. Cool. It doesn't suck.
How long do you usually go down to spring break for? Spring training for?
I mean, it is during spring break. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I know.
So this is like my second year doing it for work purposes. Otherwise it's just like last year, I had not a full-time job, but a normal job-ish per se, where you work more than one night a week. So I could only come down here for 3 days. So I came down here twice for 3 days last year. And then this year I was here for a solid 2 weeks of just like busting out work. And I only got like 3 days worth of work done because right after that, it's like, nope, we're not playing anymore.
Yeah.
No. During COVID-19.
So what did you do during those 3 days? Like what stuff did you do for work?
So I met up with a bunch of like Yankee people that I know. I had dinner with them and whatnot. And I went to one of the games, of course. I had planned like all of my plans because the Yankees played on, like I came on Monday, they played on Tuesday, and then they went to the east coast of Florida Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday I was supposed to have an interview with a couple of players. I had everything planned for that Friday, Saturday, Sunday when they were back here, back in Tampa. But everything got canceled on Thursday, so everything of mine that I was supposed to do down here pretty much got canceled. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? If only I came here a week earlier.
God, that's wild, okay. Man. So let's talk about the podcast a little bit. I grew up with a grandmother that was a diehard, and I mean diehard Yankees fan. So I grew up going to games. She was a very sweet lady until the Yankees run and they were fucking up, and then she would drop all the F-bombs all the time.
I like her.
With a glass of white, right? She was a great lady. I'm literally, as we do this podcast right now, I have a replica of the old Yankee Stadium here that was hers. So
that's awesome.
She one time I walked in on her screaming. I thought she was like hurt or something in her apartment, and she kept screaming the F word. And I went downstairs, and she just had a glass of white wine and was yelling at the TV, saying how Girardi sucks and she should be the manager. And I'm
yes!
like, I was like, you're 75. Sit down. You're giving me a heart attack. I thought you were injured. Please stop. But I get the obsession with the Yankees, so I just want to know, like, how did this all start with you? Baseball and the Yankees?
So so I always tell everybody this, like, baseball is a generational sport, like, through and through. If you're a Yankee fan, it's because somebody in your family said you had no freaking choice but to be a Yankee fan. And that was like my entire family. We're all Yankee fans. There's only a couple people that are Philly fans, but they grew up in Pennsylvania, so they chose their mom's side instead of my uncle's side. So otherwise, we're all Yankee fans. And I am the first female in my family, my dad's side at least, after 40 years. So I was surrounded by boys 24/7. Only men. That's it. Other than my mother, that was like it. And I mean, my grandmother and whatnot, but whatever. So all I wanted to do was like play with my brother, hang out with my dad, hang out with my grandpa. And they would always, fawn over my brother because, the boys, they adored me. Of course, I'm the girl. Like my grandma was like, oh, let's put you in this little dress and stuff. And I'm like, get this off of me. I don't like dresses. Do you not know me yet? It's like, look, I will sit and watch Shirley Temple with you because I get like scratches on my head. Like that I'm totally down for. But otherwise, I want to hang out with those guys. So to get in with boys, my 5-year-old self decided to run up to my grandfather's office, library situation, and just kind of looked around, and just everything I saw was baseball, Yankees, and Mickey Mantle. And I'm like, okay, I can work with this. So I grabbed a book, and what I thought was what reading was, which is pretty much just looking at all the pictures inside Yankee books. I just started trying to figure it all out. And I knew numbers. I've always been good at numbers. So I would see Mickey Mantle like 56 home runs or something. I don't know. Pick a number. It doesn't matter. And I would go downstairs and I talked to my grandfather while he was watching a Yankee game. And I was like, well, didn't Mickey Mantle have this? And he'd just look at me like, what? Did this child just say Mickey, what? And I was like, I read in your book. And he's like, you did, hold on a second. Somebody's doing something stupid on the television. And then he would yell at the TV and then he would come back to me and he's like, come here, sit with me. Let's watch the game together. And that's kind of how I became a Yankee fan. Because my grandfather realized that I wanted to be interested in what he was interested and yell at the TV with him. So, and then it just produced a monster.
Do you remember your first Yankee game?
No, that recollection is can't be in my brain because, I was very young. I have a feeling that my father took me to a Yankee game as soon as he possibly could. The first one that I can possibly remember is only because I was so mad at my dad and my stepmother at the time that I wanted to literally murder them. I was probably 6. No, I was younger than that. I was probably like 5 or 6, whatever. And I was so mad because I couldn't do something, whatever, typical 5 or 6-year-old bullshit. And I hated my stepmother. So she was just like, you're going to do this and you're going to deal with it. And I'm like, I'm going to root for the Red Sox. And my dad just stopped the car, turned around and said, don't you ever say that again. And I'm like, okay.
That's funny.
Just like, okay. And we're on our way to a Yankee Red Sox game at that moment, by the way. So that's the only reason why I remember that verbatim. And then I believe the Yankees won that game.
It's not
because my father told me that we only went to one losing game, and that was when Sonny Gray was pitching.
Wow.
Together, that is.
It's funny that the threatening part of that story is not a 5-year-old threatening to kill someone. It's your dad telling you, you will never say that again about the Red Sox.
It's a thing. No, it's a thing. It's a real freaking thing, okay? And now, as I've grown up and whatever, and like watching, like just kind of thinking about my crazy self as the Yankee fan that I am, yelling at the TV at freaking Randy Johnson and shit like that. Like, I can, every time I think of that story, I'm like, do I ever say this story out loud? Because it hurts my soul to even think that my 5-year-old self would say that. That's disgusting.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I grew up in northern New Jersey, right outside the city. So I'm a Yankees fan as well since the day I was born. And I went to college in Boston, and I literally lived 2 blocks from Fenway Park.
Oh.
And for 4 years, I would hear every single Red Sox home game. And it used to drive me out of my mind. I'm like, I can't believe, like, not only am I in Boston, I grew up hating Boston sports and still for the most part do, and lived 2 blocks from Fenway Park. I worked in a bar across the street from Fenway Park for 2 years or 3 years, and worked on at a nightclub. I'm sure if you've been to Fenway, you know all those clubs and bars that are on right outside the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in all of those my entire 4 years in Boston.
Oh my
Grew
God.
up hating the Red Sox.
That had to hurt.
Every day it was little pin in my back every single day I had to go to work.
I gotta go deal with these assholes now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
They are definitely they're definitely a different type of fan, those people. I went to college in Massachusetts and I wasn't aware of it. I grew up in Westchester, New York, and then I moved to lower like Connecticut, like Fairfield County. And for some reason people in Connecticut think they can like pick like split teams. Like there's people that are Yankees fans, but also New England Patriots fans. And I was like, no. That's not
how this works.
You can't do that.
You know,
I was blown away.
We live in an area that I think is mostly New England fans, even though we're only 45 minutes outside New York City. It's really, it hurts.
Well, I think it's changed because of how much they've won.
I think that's a lot of it too.
Yeah,
And those are bandwagon fans, and they can all just fall in a hole for all
I can't wait to see how many fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneers jerseys are floating around southern New England now.
Oh, they were all like, he's staying, and all of a sudden I was like, yo, look, they all just come here to retire. Everyone goes to Florida to retire. And apparently he moved in with Derek Jeter. And I'm just like, what's happening? What's going on?
Did he really?
What's going on? Apparently there's like this whole thing that he and Derek Jeter he moved in before, like, and he's gonna build a house next to Derek Jeter or some shit like that. There's like this whole, I think it's a conspiracy theory. I have no idea, but the girl that I had on my podcast last week, she was joking about it. And she's like, just watch, Brady's gonna move in right next to Jeter, and this is what's gonna happen. And then she sent me an article that Brady moved into Jeter's house, and I'm like, what the frick is happening? I was like, the leader of Boston and the leader of New York are living together. What's going on?
I'm going to dispel that rumor by the time we're off of this phone.
Are you Googling stuff?
No, I'm going directly to the source.
Oh, you're texting Tom Brady? Is that what you're telling me?
Just don't worry about it.
All right, whatever. You weirdo. All right, Danny, I want to get into, so when did you decide to start this podcast? How long have you been doing it?
So the podcast, I started in November of 2018, so about a year and almost half at this point. And I was a model from the age of 17 until 20-something. There's I want to say 24, 25, because there's like this little, I would say 23, 24, because there's like a little bit where I was still like dabbling in it, but I really didn't want to do anything or have any part of it, but I didn't want to let go kind of part. And I think I was 24, and long story short, went through the great relationship, ended shitty, and then I was like, I need to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my career. Am I going to stay modeling? Am I not going to? Am I going to do something else? What the hell am I going to do if I'm not going to model anymore? And I was freaking out to one of my friends when I was working behind the bar, and he's just like, my friend plays for the Blue Jays. He's like, I can get you on the field, and he's like, we'll go to a game. You can just get your mind off of everything. He's like, he knew how much of a psychotic fan I was. And I was like, all right, yeah, totally down for that. Works for me. I get to go on the field of Yankee Stadium. Sign me up. So we go to the game. I got my ticket by a Blue Jay. So I'm in the Blue Jays family section. And the starting pitcher, I think this was like in September, so all the call-ups were up. The starting pitcher's family is sitting right behind me, and they're all excited. They're like, our son's starting the game today. And I was like, that's amazing. Congratulations. She's like, by the way, we are Yankee fans, but, he plays for the Blue Jays. And I was like, obviously, you got to go with your kid, of course. I was like, this must be really tough for you. I was like, but yeah, root for your kid, of course, and whatnot. And I was being like, nice. My friends were actually super shocked because I'm a crazy person. And all of a sudden, my cousin hits a home run off of their child. I stand up. I start screaming and yelling. And then I sit back down. And my friends are like, we're in a Blue Jays section. I'm like, I don't care. Excuse me. No, like, I'm at a Yankee game. I'm rooting for my team. I don't care. Like, who got me the ticket? It does not matter. And the family is getting pissed behind me now. And I'm just like, what? I said, good job for your kid, but like, don't expect me to be nice to you guys this entire game. Like, it's still a game. And the dad was just like, you got a ticket by Blue Jay. It's like, you're sitting in the wrong freaking section. And I'm just like holding on to my legs, trying not to snap back at this family because I know it's their son. And my friends are looking at me like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And I just, under my breath, I'm like, I'm in the wrong section. You're in the wrong fucking stadium, douchebag. And my friend's head's just down, like waiting for me to say it out loud. And he's like, I'm so proud of you. You didn't do anything. Because like the family finally got up and walked away. Like, I'm so proud. I was like, you know what? Let's go to my section, which is the bleacher creatures, and hang out with my bartender, get free drinks, and like let this family at least watch the game and have their son like do his job. And but my friend's like, hold on, let's wait till the end of the inning. He's like, I want to watch more of this. This is very entertaining. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I don't have to watch the game. Like, I can just watch you freak the fuck out over what's going on. And I know exactly what's going on. He's like, wait, this is what you have to do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm trying to watch the game. And he's like, no, this is what you have to do. You have to start a podcast about baseball. And I'm like, actually, that doesn't, keep talking. He's like, this is it. He's like, this is what I'm like, but how do you start a podcast? How do you start a podcast? How do you this? He's like, I don't fucking know, but figure it out. He's like, you're smart, you're intelligent. I'm like, what would I even name it? Danny's Dugout. And he's like, yes, that is exactly what you named this. I'm like, that's not a bad idea. Let's go take tequila shots over this and figure this out. And we went, started drinking tequila, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I did it.
Tequila is always very important to make big decisions like that.
You can't make any good decisions unless you have tequila around.
That's like, I understand that that's probably a very sarcastic statement, but for me, that's like a very real thing.
Oh, no. It's not in any way sarcastic. There's no sarcasm there whatsoever.
I'm a massive tequila fan. I take a shot every time before I go on stage.
I use it as toothpaste.
You have to. Every time I'm like, when I'm going to do my podcast, I usually take a shot too, because I'm just like, woosah, Dani, go for it. I'm like, wait, you're not live.
So do you want to know the answer to the Tom Brady question?
Yeah.
You are almost right.
Okay. Well, what am I right about?
Where he's living.
Ha! I knew something.
But they're not roommates. They're not all bunking together.
Well, I'm sure the house is pretty big.
I was about to say, the house is... They could live on one side of it and not even see each other for a week.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're not roomies, but it is accurate.
So what, now the podcast is blowing up quite a bit. My friend Anthony, who handles, that's how I met your dad, was through my friend Anthony. And he was telling me about this podcast for years, and it's grown quite a lot. So what would you attribute that to? The
Yankees being the best sports franchise in the history of sports franchises? Like, what the fuck do you think you would attribute it to?
That's the thing, though. Anyone can, start a Patriots podcast. That's fine, whatever.
They're the worst.
But, it's got to be entertaining. Just because you talk about something doesn't mean it's going to be good.
I know. Listen to us.
Exactly.
You nailed that one right on the head. That was a softball, buddy. This is a baseball podcast.
I knew you were going to do that. It's too easy, but let Dani talk.
Oh boy. Honestly, there's a couple of things. I mean, my Instagram has definitely blown up since I started this. Not just because who my stepmother is. That doesn't. I will never take away what that has done for my growth factor. But what surprised me was the people that had already followed me followed the podcast, because they were just like, wait, what? You can talk baseball too? Like, we knew you were a fan, but we didn't know you could actually sit here and have a conversation with us. I was like, oh, I can have a conversation and I can school you all at the same time. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I think I can also atone to my old job at Jimmy's Corner probably helping me out too, because I would meet people every single day in Times Square, and I would literally just sit there and talk baseball with them, and they'd be like, and they would just start following me. And that's like hundreds of people every single day that I'm working now following me, because I was like, no, seriously, I can talk baseball. Like, let's go. And then just growing up in New York my entire life, knowing people, putting things out there that are entertaining and make an ass out of myself at the same time. It doesn't matter, but it's just like people find it funny, because like right now, there is no baseball going on right now, and I still have to keep these people entertained. So what am I doing? I'm just making an ass out of myself. And I'm not even talking about baseball right now because it hurts my soul to really talk about it, because I can't watch it. I should be watching it. Okay. I should be at a game right now. Right. So I just try to find ways to connect with everybody as much as I possibly can and make them laugh, because you're not going to keep somebody by talking stats and talking, like, being overly opinionated, which I am, but by making them laugh on that over opinionated thing. So be like, yes, I'm a fucking crazy person, and I think this is what needs to happen. Deal with it. And then they start laughing because they're like, you are crazy. At least you admit it. So I think that probably plays into effect. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I'll reiterate, say one of the same thing you said about your current stepmom, that totally when we started gaining in popularity was after we had your stepmom and your dad on. As soon as that happened, I would be, I'd be lying if I didn't say those guys immediately just brought us to a much bigger and higher level than we would have been without her being on. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you you just take the opportunities that are given to you, and you have a built-in one. Why not be so proud of that?
Exactly. And I completely am. And the funny part is, if you think about it, people that know who my stepmom is definitely watch sports too. So like it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, for
True.
sure.
In every
So
way, shape, or form.
who's your favorite Yankee of all time?
Mickey Mantle.
Who is your favorite Yankee that you actually have seen play? Like
or met?
Yeah.
Seen play, Mariano Rivera, met Gio Urshela. Ooh, no, Didi Gregorius.
Interesting.
That's not who I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so either. Especially
I don't really give a flying fuck. I love Derek Jeter. Do not get me wrong. I love a lot of the guys on my team currently, but Didi has a special place in my heart. Mariano Rivera is one of the greatest pitchers of all time, and pitching is my favorite part of baseball. Ron Guidry is also really fucking cool. I met him, and he's like idol of mine as well when it comes to baseball. And yeah, no, but like everybody always looks for that. Oh, it's Derek Jeter or it's Arod or it's this. I'm like, no, I'm not one of those people. I was like, yes, I like them. They're great players. I'm not going to take anything away from my captain or anything like that. Like he's still my captain. But if you want the truth, like Mo is my favorite freaking Yankee, and that's that.
Yeah, no, I totally respect all of that. I was just going to say, because you said Mickey Mantle, I was going to go with an older player might have been that person. I was going to say Bucky Dent.
Bucky Dent is so cool. Bucky Dent, like, don't get me wrong. I actually met Bucky Dent while I was down here. I went to the Clearwater Yankee Red Sox rivalry event, and I met Bucky Dent. We actually talked about the podcast because he started his own, and then all of this stuff happened. It sucks. Yeah. But Bucky Dent is super. Don't Bucky fucking Dent, of course. Yeah. But there's like, I figured you were saying, like, you said watch play, like you watch them play and this, that, and the third. So I had to go with my '90s boys because I grew up in the '90s, and now I'm 26. So
I was lucky enough that same grandmother I mentioned, she lived in an apartment building in Pelham, and the floor beneath us was where Mariano Rivera lived. So I got to see him in the lobby. I was like 7. He was so nice to me. And he was so nice. Even like, especially putting up with my grandmother, who was an insane fan. Like me and my step grandfather would just say hi and be normal. But if Mariano had like a bad day or something, she would go downstairs and put like a poster on his door and be like, "It's not your fault. You did great." And I was like, God, I'm like 8 years old. I was like, I feel like this is weird. I feel like this is wrong. I don't know. Should leave him alone, maybe. Like, so he is one of the best.
The greatest part is he's that guy that you'll see him in Dick's Sporting Goods. Like, people will crowd him, and he'll sit there and talk to all of them. He does not care. He's like, I have never heard a single bad thing about him. I've never heard anything where like he says not right now. He doesn't even say not right now. He's like, oh yeah, come over. He's like, let's talk. Even though he's with his kids, like he respects and loves his fans so much and loves this game so much that like he's always super nice. So your grandmother doing that probably made his day every single time. Like he would come home and see that and be like, all right, cool. That's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, he was the nicest, especially like you're a 7-year-old boy, and like he was just like the nicest person. You're like, this is the coolest thing ever. Mariano Rivera's here.
That's the one thing I do like dislike though about baseball is that the 70-year-old men that ask you for a ball are going to get just as excited as the 5-year-old kid that you're going to give a ball to. And I understand that you want to get this younger generation staying in baseball and loving baseball, but you got to also respect your older fans. I'm throwing this out there because you said a 7-year-old getting all excited. Because, like, as a girl in her 20s, I see these guys and, like, some of them know me, so they know that I'm not that girl. But they see me and they're like, oh, you just want to be a baseball wife. And I'm like, I do not want to touch you with a 10-foot pole, okay? Like, don't even come near me. I have no idea what girl you screwed this week, let alone, like, today. So, like, no. And when I met a few of them, they got that vibe. They finally figured it out. And I was like, no, do you want a beer? Like, if you want to go hook up that girl, I'll help you out. But, like, don't come near me. Like, this is work. And, like, it would just be but in the beginning, it was just like, oh, this girl, whatever. And now talking to them. I'm like, I've got signed stuff so that way I could give it away. I've gotten situations where like I could sit there and have a conversation with them and like be like, all right, when is this going to be kosher enough for you to come on the podcast? Where if COVID-19 didn't happen, I would have had a couple, but like it's funny how like they forget about the millennial generation and the older generations. They focus on these like kids to stay into like involved in this game, and it's like, yo guys, you got to remember your old fans who've been here since like you were in AA.
Yeah, and
And
also
watch
have
you
the
go
money,
up.
and also have the money to spend on a lot of stuff, memorabilia,
Exactly.
whatever, games, all that. So Danny, what's
Exactly.
what's next for this podcast? Like, what's anything on the horizon coming up? Like any big things? I know now with the baseball season being paused, it's kind of tough to say, but
It's tough to say because baseball has been paused, and there's a chance that I'm not even going to put that out in the universe in any way, shape, or form. But um, if something happens with baseball this year, I'm going to be so freaking sad. And we'll say next year there's possible events to be had. It's not at Yankee Stadium, but like at a few bars that I know, and with a tequila sponsor and stuff like that. And I had all this planned out for this year. I was really excited. But yeah, events to get people to like watch games, away games together, and we all drinking and having fun. And then otherwise, it's just, trying to get some of the guys to come on and just keep talking baseball, keep going to different stadiums and showing people that this sport is the greatest sport that has ever been known to man.
What do you think about the possibility of them doing all the opening games in Phoenix?
As a higher possibility than anything else, to be quite honest, because I don't see them doing, and with how this is going and how Phoenix looks when it comes to, well, how Arizona in general looks when it comes to this situation, probably safer for them to play there. But the thing is, they want to play in front of fans. And I'm like, you're not going to get all your fans to go there.
Well,
and if that's what you want.
You mean go to Phoenix or just go to games if it opens up at some point, whatever?
Go to Phoenix because people are still scared to get on a plane.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Well,
you literally have to be quarantined for 2 weeks if you get on a plane. So what's the point?
Right. Well,
so I gotta go to.
I think that
no, Greg's just slow. It's okay.
No, I definitely am a little slow this week. I think that a couple things. So after 9/11, baseball was like what sort of brought the country back together, right? Like the first big things that happened after 9/11 was baseball got back. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously the late shows did, but whatever. Baseball was that unifier of the country that brought it some level of normalcy. And I think that that's what can happen again with baseball because just of the nature of your average baseball game, which, most stadiums hold 50,000 people. On your average game, you're not getting 50,000 people. It's, well spread out. So, and it's outdoors. So you have both of those things happening in unison. You have an outdoor event with not anywhere close to capacity, outside of a few places, Chicago, Boston, Yankee Stadium, on not, on some of the nights. So I think baseball has the best chance of any sport to get back to some level of normalcy the fastest. Forget the NBA.
Oh yeah, because it's outside. It's outside. It's all of this. What I personally like, what irritated me about this whole situation was like they didn't want to play in front of empty stands, and I was like, look, I get it that you get your hype over us being there and getting excited, but we need something. We're all sitting at home. People are miserable. People are sad, and they just want to watch something. So if y'all are safe and you guys can play in Phoenix, but just like not in front of a bunch of people, play the damn game. So all of us can like just blow up Instagram or Twitter or Facebook and talk about the fact that we could finally watch something again and get really hyped up about it. That's what I just wish that they would do.
I think
but
baseball,
like there's
just because when it comes to most of the sports, it's the one with the least contact.
Yes,
Right.
but that's the thing. It's good for the players. Like the players will be fine. They're all tested. They're all good. They're all safe. They play the game, least amount of contact. They're all standing pretty far away from each other unless you're on a base.
Yeah.
So, like, I think for the players, it's fine for them to play. The thing was, like, they were talking about they didn't want to start it unless there were fans in the stadium because, one, all of them want to make their money, of course. But, like, you'll sell 10 times more MLB packages because people will want to watch any game that they possibly can. So you'll get money that way. Like, yes, network does do something to just figure out how you can expand the platform on social media so that way everyone can watch games and deal with the fact that you can't play in front of fans. Like the players just need to take their egos down a notch and just remember why they love the game, not because of people watching them, but because they love the game.
Yeah.
I would agree.
That's all.
Did you watch WrestleMania at all with no fans? Did anyone see that? That was
No, but I think my assistant did because she's a huge WrestleMania fan, and I'm just like, what's happening here? What's going on? How did that work?
We talked about this the other day. It was really weird, like to see one of the the country's biggest sporting events or entertainment events that's usually in front of 70, 80, 100,000 people sometimes in basically a high school gym with nobody. It was like watching people go through dress rehearsal. It was really strange.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Not being able to hear people scream and yell and possibly get that "fuck you, Chapman" for screwing up a game in the background is going to be so weird, so weird forever. I feel like they should just add in like those sound effects, anyways, just to help the guys out.
Like you're playing it on EA
this is what people. Yeah, like this is what people are doing at home, anyways. Like here, you're getting a fake sound, whatever. I don't know. Like do that for the guys, but yeah, it would be even weird for us. But the thing is, like, we're at home yelling and screaming. So maybe if we just put it on mute and we don't have to listen to Michael K's voice, we'll be okay.
Oh, amen. God, that'd be awesome. Sorry,
not a fan of his.
I'm
Greg?
just waiting for the phone call. I'm like, I know I curse a lot, but like, I'm totally down to be the new voice of the Yankees. Like, whenever you want, I'll stop cursing.
Heard it here first on the Mangina Dialogues.
So I have before we get close to wrapping it up, I want to go through a little exercise with you.
Oh boy.
I'm just kind of curious. So I'm going to give you two choices of players. I want you to tell me without thinking about it who your favorite is. I'm going to do this 3 times.
Okay.
So here's round 1. Mickey Rivers or Bucky Dent?
Bucky Dent.
Okay. Derek Jeter.
I love Mickey, though, even though he's never going to hear this. I do love him as a person, but he keeps calling me Dana instead of Danny, so Bucky Dent.
I'll text him later. Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez.
Derek Jeter.
Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez.
Aaron Judge.
Okay, I'm done. We're pretty much on the same page. Nick, you got anything?
So much
like, the only one that was like really hard for me to choose is the first one because like I know both of them, and then the last one was easier for me because Gary Sanchez pisses me off, and the second one was super easy because I fucking hate Arod.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hear all that. Anyway, but good choices that you can't go wrong either way.
You passed the test, Danny.
I like passing tests.
Yeah, you did it. Oh, that was an awkward silence. All right, so let's we're gonna wrap up here. Danny, thank you. I know you're not doing anything, and neither are we, but thank you for taking the time out of all the time you have all day to talk with us today. Is there anything else you want to plug besides the podcast, your Instagram, anything? Not that you need our help, but might as well, right?
Might as well. Follow me at Dani Cipolla on Twitter, Dani_Cipolla on Instagram, and Danny's Dugout everywhere else. And if you want to listen to the podcast, obviously just, type in Danny's Dugout. And it's an I, not a Y. I'm not a boy.
And drive safe.
Yes, safe trip back.
Live stream
Thank
it,
you.
and we'll put it up somewhere, and we'll all watch it. Watch you argue with
Sounds
your family.
great.
It'll be good times.
That's actually a great idea. I'm probably going to do this.
You should.
You should.
All right,
I
Dani.
better see you doing
I
it
know, right?
live on Instagram. I'm gonna watch.
Split screen with your dad would be amazing.
Yeah.
Be great.
All right,
All right,
awesome.
guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
For sure.
Bye.
Bye.
On the